Hey, family, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. And I am Ratwan Hill, the bridge connecting the next generation to federal contracting. And with me, I have the Mr. Walter Cotton III, responsible for over $19 billion for the service disabled veteran-owned small business community and federal contracting, the president of the elite SDVOSB network, and the first service disabled veteran-owned national spokesperson. Mr. Cotton, man, how you doing this lovely Wednesday?
I am doing wonderful. What about yourself?
Man, I'm doing great. Highly blessed and favored.
What's on the agenda for today?
Man, I ran. yeah. Last episode we was talking about how drunk or a private conversation we had. I don't remember which one. I talked to you a lot of times, a lot. But now I'm seeing that they're talking about mines in the Strait of Hormuz. But the question I have is, should we be doing this? Like the "you are here" point, can we do an analysis of what we doing? Is it actually what we should be doing?
Well, you started out with the Iran statement, and while you were saying that, there was a tape playing in my head that said Iraq, Iran. They say that sometimes history repeats itself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And we truly should have learned a lesson from our situation in Iraq, because again, we're talking about a resilient people, right? You're not going to just go in there and shock and awe these people into submission. And so the sanity of the strategy that is being employed has me asking some real serious questions about the competency. I'm just going to say it openly, of this administration. I really question whether or not there should have been enough foreknowledge
mm-hmm.
to know that we were not going to be able to bomb these people into submission from the air. Yet I digress. I don't want to take the show in the direction you don't want to go in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, even on that standpoint, right? When we look at wars, conflicts, is mostly strategic. And I believe it was Impact Theory I was watching earlier this morning. They were speaking about how Iran was getting pretty much counterintelligence from China about what the US military would do. So when I hear that, I'm thinking like, is this really a strategic play if they know what we're doing?
Well, Ratwana, it is 2026,
Yeah.
and we're talking about human beings killing human beings,
Yeah.
right? We've seen war before, right?
Yeah.
There are no winners in war. So anyone that is promoting war should be suspect today, right? And so I, for one, am hard pressed to understand what the rationale and justification is for us today being in conflict with any nation or any individual that causes us to take that life.
Yeah.
I think we should have evolved beyond that particular point, and if we have a situation where there are other mechanisms afoot, Gil Scott Heron, that famous urban poet, said the military and the monetary gets together when it's necessary. If this is a situation where there is a monetary justification for this action, we need to root out the individuals that are making that decision. We, the people, need to root those individuals out, and we need to address that, because as I see it right now, not only have we been made less safe as a nation, right, on a global footing, but our reputation as a nation has been besmirched, right? It's been besmirched by the action that was just taken. And if you look at it from the long view lens, right? We attacked a nation while we were in the process of negotiating with them. Now, there's some concern on a global stage as to whether or not America is, agreement viable after what happened in Ukraine. But I, for one, am quite concerned that I'm not hearing the right messaging coming out of our political coffers, whether it be the Republican camp or the Democratic camp that is looking at what is happening to this nation by some of these actions that are coming out of this administration. And I, early on in the process, said I was going to give the administration an opportunity because I don't know, maybe we're dealing with a drunken kung fu master that's making decisions that, just don't follow linear strategies that I don't understand, right? And at the end of the day, the American people voted this guy into office, so he has the right to take actions and make decisions. But that right only goes so far, right? And we, the people, have mechanisms in place that are checks and balances against, right, a leader that runs amok. And those checks and balances are the House of Representatives, it's the Senate, right? It is the Supreme Court. But in a unique situation where you've got a trifecta, right? You got the House that's running against one party, you got the Senate that's running against one party, and you got the executive branch that's a part of that same party. It's very, very difficult to stop momentum. That's when we, the people, us citizen soldiers, us true patriots, have to raise our voice, and we have to put a stop to these shenanigans. Because right now we've got a situation where I'm paying $4.50 a gallon for gas, when last week I wasn't paying that amount of money. And I'm a part of the upper K. You guys hear them talking about this K-shaped economy where they're trying to decimate the middle class and make the underclass bigger. So I'm a part of the upper K. So this additional buck a gallon for gas isn't hurting me. But for my fellow Americans, right, that aren't a part of the upper K, right, that are in a less economic position than me, this change is catastrophic. And we need to do something to stop these actions and these behaviors before the unrest grows to the place where we have the outcome of, what was that movie that we saw recently that was produced by the Obama family called Leave the World Behind, right? Did you guys see that movie called Leave the World Behind? Do you remember what the thesis of that movie was? It wasn't an attack from a foreign nation, right? It wasn't, right, that the CIA's greatest concern was that there was going to be a natural implosion that was going to be just a chain reaction because of a set of events, right? And I, for one, as a strategist, as a systems thinker, I look at these actions that are underway and I ask the question, that thread that I see, is it leading to a common causal factor? Is this happening by design? And that's a question that we, the people, need to start probing right now.
Yes, sir. And this just doesn't affect oil prices, because now we're thinking about energy prices, we're thinking about global supply chains, the shipping insurance, and whole assurance that they have, and it's like pretty much you get a tax on the insurance because we're in a conflict. So it's a trickle down effect, and prices rising and everything pretty much just because of this.
We can go deeper than that. In a season where the future of work is being threatened by the advance of AI, right? Depending on what camp you talk to, right, there is a suggestion that in the next 12 to 18 months, AI is going to decimate the majority of cognitive white collar jobs, right? So if you have that kind of a threat on the horizon, right, where the majority of your workforce is going to become unemployed, unemployable, and universal basic income isn't going to fill in the gap, right? Then you got to start asking yourself the question, why would you be doing anything in advance of that kind of a threat that destabilizes your ability to react to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm suggesting to we the people, for those of you who are within the sound of my voice, this is a time for us to put on our critical thinking caps, right? This is a time for us to move away from the addiction that we have to CNN, NBC, and whatever our popular media source is, and start studying ourselves approved. Because notwithstanding the fact that you have special interests that are trying to capture your perspective and opinion, it's more difficult for you to discern the truth in this environment where you have AI and algorithms that are pushing information to you, and deep fakes that make you wonder whether or not what you're seeing is true. And our lazy the American research appetite has been diminished, right? Our lazy ability to go and discover whether or not that dog that was dancing with the tutu on was real or not, right?
Yeah.
It is a season right now where we have the atmospheric conditions for something catastrophic to happen. But I am betting on the human spirit. I'm doubling down on the humanity that we have. I'm doubling down on our ability to see this coming and correct it before we hit the intersection, right? I'm doubling down on that one.
When you say, okay, we talked about we the people and how it's pretty much everybody individually coming to their own, self-knowledge and understanding, and pretty much saying, okay, yeah, this is what's going on. I need to speak up and say something about it. How many people do you think it'll take to be able to affect it? Is it a certain number, or is it just the right people being effective with it, or is it a certain number that we have to have?
It's not about numbers. It's not about numbers. It really isn't about numbers. This is the power of one thing, right? Because it was one in the beginning and it is one now. So it's not about numbers thing, right? It's about deciding, right? Making up your mind, right? Once we get a made up mind, the rest is done. And I'm just suggesting that, we collectively get a made up mind about something other than war.
Yeah.
Right? We get a made up mind about something other than enemies, right? That we start looking at the love, right? We start looking at the benefits of cooperation and collaboration. At the end of the day, there is nothing I can do to create life. And therefore, the decision for me to take it is a enormously large decision. And I think right now there are forces that are making that decision for reasons that aren't known to us, that we need to get our arms around, right? We need to get our arms around, right? Because it's putting us in harm's way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, on the other side of this equation, it's a conflict, but on the other side of it, it's going to present opportunities. We spoke on last segment about the fact that our munition supply is running low, so that means it's going to create an urgency and a sense of a on demand need for the small bit. This was something that would be more reactive, but for the service disabled veteran-owned small businesses who are looking at this from a strategic standpoint, should they be proactively looking to figure out how they could get in where they fit in, or should it be, okay, this is happening, I just need to be able to connect to somebody as a subcontractor?
We're going to have to be a little bit more direct with the military, with the veteran community on this particular fact, because I know there's a lot of white noise out there. I know there are a lot of distractions out there, people telling you, what you should do here, what you should do there. Let's just be straight with them, right? America wants you to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
They have put a condition in place for him and her who bore the battle, right? If you are a veteran or a disabled veteran, you have a competitive advantage in contracting with the federal government in a season where they need more new entrants. There
Mm-hmm.
is a $1.3 trillion opportunity for you to go in and help these United States of America, right? Reshore our manufacturing, shore up our supply chain. So if you are a veteran or a disabled veteran, this is your call to action to get out of the mustard so you can catch up, because America needs you back into the battle as a business owner, as a veteranpreneur, helping us shore up this economy. But more importantly than that, with the pending blades of AI that's about to disrupt the economy, your family needs you to be proactive about making sure that you get them outside of the the back blast area. You get them outside of the blast area by taking advantage of the fact that you have an undeniable benefit that you can use to create generational wealth that they can pass on. And I don't know how we've been passive about that. We've been suggestive about that, right? Now it's time for us to hit you in the face with it, because America needs its servicemen and women, its veterans, to come back into duty so that we can shore up this economy. We can make sure that our war fighters that are out there in harm's way have the resources that they need and the level of lethality that's required to win the battle. And then we need to make sure that we've got the resiliency necessary to recover, rebuild this nation after all this bullshit is over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And on that, that's a good segue. You know, the small business innovation research. You know, you talked about AI. You talk about white collar jobs being diminished. SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research, is something that a lot of people don't really truly understand, but it presents a whole bunch of benefits to provide innovation to the government. When you talk about deep fakes, what I think in my mind's eye is, okay, we need something to combat those deep fakes, because AI hallucinate. It's going to do things that I saw Sam Lee, he posted a report about the numbers that SBA released out, and then when you added all the numbers, it was 110%, not 100%. So, that shows that it's some hallucination. And if the governments do it, we need something to combat those efforts so we can have correct information, because that doesn't look too good.
You're absolutely right. And the point that I think you're referencing specifically is that there are multiple avenues
Mm-hmm.
that we can use to get into this game. And
Mm-hmm.
the small business innovation and research grant pathway is a
Mm-hmm.
pathway for those of you that are the Geppettos of our world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that have got that great idea, that disruptive capability that you think will help the government, you think will help America. The SBIR program was designed to support your needs. And what's really exciting to me about that program is that Congress saw it in their wisdom last week to reauthorize the program. And when they reauthorized it, they enhanced it. And they enhanced it. So here's the SBI program in a nutshell. The government will give you, I think, up to $1.5 million, right, to write the white paper or strategy that you want to sell to them. Okay, phase one, they call that, of the program. They'll give you the money that you need to conceptualize the ideation that you are looking to build. In phase two, they give you the financial support necessary to build out the prototype and go and get yourself some investment partners, right, to get yourself ready for the big run. And then phase three, if you make it to phase three, the government ultimately gives you a contract for producing what becomes a mandatory product in the federal space. Okay, so I know a lot of ears perked up on that one, because that's a pathway that you want to take advantage of. But when Congress reauthorized this pathway, they did something unique, and that was they took into consideration the changes in the economy. And they said that the dollar values of phase 2 initiatives have to be increased because it's not enough to support the kind of innovation, whether it be drones, whether it be technology or defensive AI, like Mr. Hill was talking about. The dollar amount needs to be bigger. And so what they did was they moved the phase 2 dollar award to $30 million. Let me say that again, right? In phase 1, the government gives you the dollars that you need to write up the proposal and strategy that convinces them. Then in phase 2, they give you up to $30 million, which you can match with some supporting funds. And in a opportunities, did I say opportunity zone? In an opportunity zone impacted environment, right? There are capital stacks that you can put together to blow up in your community. So what we are encouraging you guys to do, and we've been a little passive about it because we thought we'd help you come to your own realization. Now we're getting active. We're getting aggressive about it. You need to get out of the mustard so you can catch up, right? Mr. Hill and I, mostly me, have developed a training program that will accomplish that solution for you. And we are making that available to 60 veterans, right? May 5th. Right? You go out to our website. I would encourage you to take advantage of it. And the reason that I'm telling you that is because we know that there are over 5 million veterans out there that have authorization for this particular benefit that are going to jam this queue. And so if you've been listening to us for a while and saying, yeah, they're talking about this training course, and one day I'm going to take a look at it, now is the season for you to get involved, right? We've got seats for 60 available for the May class. Holla at your boys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what we've been mentioning, disabled veterans listening, the benefit that Mr. Cotton was speaking about earlier that you have is that veteran readiness employment, Chapter 31, and more specifically that self-employment track that gives you the one thing that most small businesses struggle with, and that's startup capital. They're giving you $49,999 and up. You just have to get a higher approval, which is easily done when.
So let me. I got to cut you off on that because I think that we need to let them know the depth of what they're talking about. When you talk about this $49,000, is that the ceiling that they can get to help them? Start. Tell me more about what they'd have to do if they wanted more than $49,000 in startup capital or help.
They would just have to go to the VNRE officer and get a higher rate. So you got your counselor, then you got the VREO, then you got the supervisor who runs the whole VNRE for your city or state. And then they could approve higher, then you could go, higher than that, even maybe to the VNRE director who can approve. So it's really, it doesn't even state a cap. They don't have a ceiling. They don't have a ceiling. I believe it's just you having a justification of why you need to be approved for a higher amount.
So what you're telling me is that this VRE program has a self-employment track that would help the veterans, the vetrepreneurs out there in the audience, answer that number one, overcome that number one, get around that number one barrier that keeps people out of business, access to capital.
Yes. And as you said, what I thought of when you said a capital stack, I'm like, okay, so I'm a disabled veteran and I want to do innovation in drones. So say, instead of drones that could just do one attacks and blow up things, what about, creating pretty much like a mini bomber drone with, missiles, and then you using your VNRE to get to that point to where you have a business. Then you going through the SBIR program, and then you just, setting it up.
Wait, Mr. Hill, stop. You're dropping too many jewels out here.
Yeah, my mind started going when you started. Yeah.
No, I think that the thing that the audience wants to get when they see us in one of our natural discussions, right? That's the natural dialogue. That's the kind of energy that we have in our communities of practice, right? The veterans that we're pulling together behind the scenes, they're looking to rule the world. right? There was this one instance where we saw this solution. So there's a new additive to the jet plane, right? And it's designed to distract a missile that would blow up the plane. And so it's like a detour, a distraction. And so when the missile is coming towards the plane, they drop this jet thing. It turns on its jet thing, and it goes this way, and it takes those things cost about $4 million to build. You know how much a jet costs? That was an SBIR solution, right? So instead of losing the jet that cost, however many $1 billion to construct, right? These servicemen and women came up with a solution, and they said, you know what? There's no sense for us losing all of those jets if we could just put this one rocket-propelled event on there, bada bit, bada boom. These are the kinds of opportunities that are available for you, the disabled veteran that has an innovation that can help our warfighters become more lethal, or more importantly, ultimately transitions into a commercial application and becomes the next PayPal, right? It becomes the next big thing that the world beats a pathway to the door of the United States to buy. So at the end of the day, what we're saying on multiple levels is, if you have borne the battle and you're a disabled veteran, this great nation has put the country in a position to reward you for your service, but you got to bring something to the table, right? If you bring a product or service to the table that this nation needs, they'll buy it from you. They've pushed you to the front of the line. They put you in the position to be the safe harbor. Now, your responsibility is to figure out how you become contract ready and contract viable. You solve those two problems, you solve those two challenges, and a doorway opens up to a $1.2 trillion market opportunity that you have the ability, and I can't say this without, well, I'm just going to say it the way it needs to be said. You have the ability to make a demand call against that spend. In a AI impacted economy where jobs are about to go away, you would be foolish not to take advantage of this opportunity. And I'm going to put the big talking stick down, because I get downright evangelical about this idea, because it just makes so much sense. Him and her who bore the battle, in a position to self-determine and make sure that his and her family have the opportunity to more fully participate in the American dream, being the kind of image or example that future generations say, I want to do that. Right? I want to pass through that rite of passage, which is service to these United States, keeping us safe and fueling that next generation of innovation. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I think that works for America.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the other opportunity that's emerging, or has been emerging, is that 8A, the 8A audit. So 600 plus companies are being suspended. They are pushing contracting officers away from the 8A sole source pathway. And I want to share something to the screen with the audience. This is our FedMine, our data source, what we use with FedMine. And it shows that the 8A sole source, and this is for 2 years of expiring contracts that are 8A sole source, 14 billion and almost 15 billion in contracts expiring in the next 2 years that were awarded to 8A sole source. When you see these numbers, Mr. Cotton, and you see the industries, the proactive veteran, service disabled veteran should be looking at this as, oh, these are opportunities that I could position myself right now to essentially be have these awards awarded to me, or have these contracts awarded to me, pretty much.
Yeah, and what I really like about the breakdown of this report is it shows the different agencies that have that $14 billion worth of contracts that
Mm-hmm.
the disabled veteran could get. It shows the different industries that
Mm-hmm.
those contracts are coming from. It even breaks it down by state. But the one thing that this doesn't say, right, that Mr. Hill is trying to say to you is that the FAR Council said to the 8A program, listen, once we suspend these contracts and you need to find a new source for it, make sure it was one of the existing socioeconomic programs. So that $14 billion worth of contracts, the portion of it that gets suspended, is going to have to be reawarded. It's going to have to be repositioned with an existing socioeconomic community. The service disabled veteran, the veteran community has been moved to the highest, safest harbor in this season. And so, again, I think Mr. Hill just gave you another of the myriad of examples as to why you, as a service disabled veteran, need to get your feces amalgamated in this season so you can get out of the mustard and catch up.
Yes, sir. And my last final note is, you see that website going down the bottom scrolling? I suggest you go to the website and become a member so you can get a little cotton in your ear and access to this community of practice. And that, on that note, guys, I'm Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton the third. Until next time, guys, we're out.